Figures like Attila and Hitler are described not as the only ones responsible for conflicts, but as products of a humanity that still carries within itself deep and uncontrollable desires of destruction. These leaders do not create violence, but release a latent energy in the human soul, a reflection of the lowest and most destructive countries that remain repressed. Even though the focus often falls on the leaders, the responsibility is shared by all the individuals who feed, with their attitudes and mentalities, this climate of hate. It is notable that while peaceful and redemptive figures like Jesus Christ are often cut off or persecuted, war leaders find fertile ground to establish themselves. This is explained as a manifestation of the most destructive human countries, meaning that true peace would be possible as soon as humanity adopts the teachings of Christ, and not the leaders who defend war. The number 666, traditionally associated with Antichrist and Vesta, is analyzed as a symbol that goes beyond a simple reference to a specific person or institution. He is seen as a reflection of degraded humanity, which, instead of seeking something collectively, is lost in destructive and selfish countries. An analysis of historical names, such as those of Hitler, reveals that the number 666 is not restricted to a single person, but rather symbolizes a collective spiritual state, where the degradation of human vibrations is the main focus. Thus, the number 666 is interpreted as a representation of a corrupt society among its own people, such as pride, anger, and lack of power. As many dedicate themselves to these countries, a small group of spiritually elevated individuals continues to fight for spiritual ascension and peace, using their energies to transform society into something more harmonious. Along with the number 666, we see the symbolism of other numbers, especially the number 7, which is considered sacred and perfect. The number 7 is associated with harmony and spirituality, representing spiritual ascension and universal balance. This number is present in many aspects of life, such as the 7 days of the week, the 7 cores of the solar spectrum, and the 7 musical notes. It symbolizes stability and order, directly contrasting the chaos and destruction that the number 666 represents. Other numbers, such as 3 and 4, also have important meanings. The number 3 is related to the integration of fundamental forces, while the number 4 symbolizes the elements of nature and the structural aspects of life. These numbers, together with 7, represent forces that lead to order, harmony, and spiritual evolution. A cosmic event related to the approach of a star that is intended to spiritually purify Earth has also been discussed. This star, which approaches in a cycle of approximately 6,666 years, is described as a detonator of the energies of the best and the Antichrist, activating a transformation on the spiritual plane of humanity. This process is interpreted as part of a prophetic cycle, in which a spiritual selection occurs among human beings, purifying the planet and destroying those who are still imprisoned in its most destructive countries. The number 666, in this context, is linked to a final judgment process, where humanity will be transformed by this purification. Those who do not achieve spiritual elevation will be left behind, while the most pure and evolved will ascend to a higher state of consciousness and spirituality. The concept of best signal is explained in a symbolic way. These are seen not as literal symbols of physical marks, but as representations of how human thoughts and actions can be corrupted. This symbolizes the thought of the nurturing mind, while at the same time it represents the year that materializes that thought. Thus, those who surrender to inferior countries, such as violence and Kobika, mark themselves as the signal of Besta in their minds and ages, perpetuating the spiritual degradation of humanity. Violence and destructive human countries are responsible for creating a cycle of degradation, with historical figures such as Attila and Hitler symbolizing these destructive forces. The number 666 is seen as a metaphor for corrupted humanity, while the numbers 3, 4, and 7 symbolize forces of harmony, order, and spiritual ascension. The approximation of a cleansing star and the process of spiritual purification are described as key to the transformation of humanity, where the most spiritually elevated will be separated from those who remain in the crevasses of violence and ignorance. If you are interested in this reflection on human landscapes, violence, and the true meaning of spiritual transformation, There is no need to discover the channel and activate the Sinenho to receive more content like this. Leave your like to support our Museo de Espelhar Conhecimento and awaken conscientias para un mundo más harmónico. Your participation is fundamental to continue raising issues that we can make a difference in your life.